In this lesson, we're going to look at removing stubble or a one-day growth, and in this case, our subject here has that. He's got, and in many cases that's the preferred look, but if you want to remove it or reduce it, this is a very, very great technique for doing that. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the layer, at least so you can see the changes on a separate layer. And we're going to go get the rubber stamp tool. Now the key to this trick is two settings that you make in the rubber stamp tool. Number one is switch the mode up here of the tool itself from normal to lighten. So it's only going to affect pixels that are darker than the area that you're at, that you're going to be cloning at, and that'll make more sense in a minute. So it's only going to affect pixels that are darker, so it'll only affect the stubble and not the skin below it. And then we're going to lower the opacity to something to where we don't just plow over it, but we leave as much of the original skin texture as possible. I usually keep this down about 40%, in the 40% range, like that. Now, so lighten at 40%. Now what you're going to do is get a soft edge brush, and you're going to click in an area that's clean, all right, that has similar kind of a tone. So we'll click right over here. Then all you're going to do is click, and as you start cloning, it just is going to basically whoops, I don't want to clone onto his nose there. Resample over here, and we're just going to give him a little bit of a shave. There we go. Notice how it's cleaning him up there. Back up over here. Over here doesn't look too bad. Maybe over there. And see how it's just kind of takes a couple of passes, right? But look, we are just fixing him right up. You don't want to go too far because you're starting to get into the shadow side of his face. So let's just got a little more stubble here, a little bit there, and a little bit right in this area right there, kind of just fixing that up. And it doesn't look like we did that much. If you think, well, I don't know how much we did. I'm going to turn on and off that layer and you'll see the difference. Look, from there to there. See, a little quick shave there. Hey, let's try it on another image. Got another image we can use over here. Alright, so here's another one. Alright, and this is just shot with natural daylight, but that daylight is accentuating the stubble here. This one's going to take a little more work because he's got about a 3-day growth going on. So let's duplicate the layer. We're going to option click up here on some skin and just start shaving away. Now this one is going to probably present a different little problem that we're going to deal with in a different way in a minute. So doesn't look like I'm doing much here. Again, every time you do this, it looks like, well, is it really affecting? Oh, there we go. You can really see it down there. Now we're getting the electric shaver look here. There we go. Get rid of this and this area over here. Whoops. Didn't really mean to do that. Hit all kinds of wrong keys there, which is not unusual for me to do when I'm retouching, because you're constantly hitting, the option key to sample or the alt key on the PC to sample. Alright, so we'll basically shave one side of his face so you can see the difference. We'll just leave the other side kind of undone. Looks like an ad for Norelco shavers. Oops, that last one looked a little fakey. You want to kind of get a skin tone that's kind of similar to where you're cloning, and that's going to make more. So look at the difference. We've split his face in half. Look, just kind of took it right away, but you can already see what the problem is. I'm not going to say what it is yet because we'll go back and fix it. Now, to fix the shadow side of his face, because I did have a reflector on this side, but it's still rather dark. Fix the shadow side, you're going to go in here, option click, and then you're going to have to paint with this. If you paint with this over here, I think it's going to make it too obvious and too light, right? So this side's only for this side. This side you got to option click up here someplace and get a little better. There we go. See how much it has to. It's only, so remember I told you earlier you'd get what it means. It's only going to affect the pixels that are darker than what you sampled. Well, if I sample here, it's only going to affect darker pixels like the hairs. So you want to pick a skin tone that's kind of close to where you're at. And we'll just kind of go into, but you're going to see a big problem arise in just a moment. When we're done, it's going to be very, very obvious what the problem is. And I'm doing this kind of quickly. You're going to take more time when you do this, right? You're not going to try to do it as quickly as I'm doing it, but I know watching someone retouch can be almost as tedious as, or perhaps more tedious than doing the retouch yourself. So that's why sometimes during these lessons I don't sit there and take you 500 strokes through getting rid of some little tiny thing because it would just bore you to tears. I think you'd rather have me spend time on showing you the next technique instead of just repeating the same technique 500 times. But unfortunately, that's the reality of retouching, is you have to do that sometimes. All right, so what our problem is going to be is that while we've pretty much given him a nice close shave, and I haven't really retouched this very nicely yet, but you get the idea, is watch. Let me back off. The area is actually brighter. It's actually brighter where you can see that it looked like, it's brighter. How many different ways can I say that it's brighter? It's brighter. So let's do this. Let's option click on this to hide it. Option click the layer mask. PC alt click the layer mask. All right, let's move this up so you can see the whole thing. Then I'm going to paint in with the paintbrush our fix, and you'll see how we're going to make this work for us in just a second. So we'll just paint in our fix. It just takes 2 seconds to paint it in, right? Because you've already done pretty much all the hard stuff. So you're just revealing the version of him that isn't quite as stubbly. And I didn't do the edges of his face very well, but you get the idea. All right. So now take a look. Let's take a look once again. You'll see that it's obviously brighter, right? But here's the trick. Because we did it on a separate layer, and because we had a layer mask, click not on the layer mask itself, but on the image itself. Let's back off just a little bit. Now go to levels. Just press Command L on Mac or Control L on PC, and you can grab the midtone slider and darken up that face just a little to where it doesn't look fake anymore. Look at that. That little tiny move, just dragging it to the right just a little bit. Now the skin tone matches much better, and now he's got the complete shave. So there you go, just a couple little tricks on removing stubble. It's very, very easy. It's just like a lot of things in retouching, a little bit tedious.